In this video tutorial, looping in C++ will be explained. Looping will be achieved using both the while and the do-while statements. To demonstrate this, we will write a program that will compute the factorial of a positive number. For this program, we need to declare three integer variables, one variable to store the number, a second variable to store the factorial, and a third variable which will be used as the counter of the loop. Next, the user is prompted to enter a positive integer number. Once the variable n has the number, the next step is to write a while statement that will compute the factorial of the number. This is the structure of the while loop. As you can see here, I will be used as the counter of the loop with an initial value of 1, and here this is the while statement, which is made of the header and the body, and within the parentheses of the header we will write an expression which will compute either true or false. So if it is true, the body of the while is executed, and then the compiler goes back to the test expression and checks whether it's true, and if it's true again, it will again go to the body and execute it, and thus we have a loop, and this is repeated until the test expression is false. You can see here the expression of the while statement is I less than or equal to n. We write this to enable our loop to repeat n number of times, because we require n number of loops to compute the factorial. The next step is to write the statement and the statements required within the body of the while loop. As you all know, the factorial of n is calculated as follows: n times n minus 1 times n minus 2 times n minus 3, and this process of multiplication continues until we multiply by 1 the end value. So we can see we have n number of multiplications, so our loop has to repeat n number of times, and here by using this assignment statement f equals f times I, this iterative expression or this iterative equation can be used to calculate the factorial. But before we begin, we need to have an initial value for the f factorial. In this case, f equals 1, because we will start by multiplying like this: 1 and then times 2 and then times 3, and this continues until we reach n minus 1 times n, which is done n number of times. So the initial value of f will be, in this case, 1. So when we have I equals 1 and f equals 1, the compiler will check whether we have completed the n number of loops, so it will compare the value of I with the value of n, and if we haven't reached n yet, then it will go into this assignment statement. Now the new value of f here will be equal to the old value of f, which in this case is 1, multiplied by the value of I, which is again 1. So we have the initial factorial will be, or for the first iteration, the value of f will be 1. So on the next iteration, of course, for the next iteration we need to update the value of the counter as so. So now after this we have I is equal to 2, and then the compiler checks again, is 2 less than or equal to n. If this is true, then again we are computing the new value of f. So here f equals to the old value of f, which is 1, times the new value of I, which is 2, so the new value of factorial will be 2. This process is repeated n number of times, so at the end, when this expression becomes false, the compiler will leave the while statement and f will have the final factorial value. The next step is now to display at the output the factorial. Now we can execute the program and observe the output. So here at the output DOS screen, the input is asking for a positive number. Let's say we want to find the factorial of 4, and factorial of 4 is 24. If we have another run, let's find the factorial of 5, and it's 120, which is correct. Now our program is designed to find the factorial of a positive number. What if the user of the program entered a negative number? This may lead at the output to a logical error. So to validate the input and to protect the input from any invalid number, we can use the do while statement to protect the input. And to do this, we need to include this input statement at the beginning within the body of the do while statement. The structure of the do while statement is actually it's two statements, the do statement and the while statement. In the do statement, as you can see here, the compiler executes the input statement, the user inputs a number, and within the while statement, the number n is checked to see whether it is positive or negative. If it's negative, which is an invalid number, then the condition here of the expression becomes true, and the compiler jumps and repeats the do statements. It means the compiler will go back and asks the user to input the number again. Now this process is repeated until the user inputs a positive number. So here, as you can see, the do while statement has been used to validate the input and protect it from incorrect entry. Now we can run the program again and see the output. So let's say here in the output the user inputs -5, which should be rejected, and as you can see, because of the do while statement, the input statement is again repeated. Enter positive number, and this time when I enter 5, the factorial is corrected and the output is acceptable. This concludes this tutorial.